All right, let's roll right into our post-race for tonight's 4th annual 5-Hour Energy 400 benefiting Special Operations Warrior Foundation NASCAR Sprint Cup Series race here at Kansas Speedway. First NASCAR Sprint Cup Series race under the lights here at Kansas, and our third-place finisher is Kasey Kahne. He drove the number 5 Farmers Insurance Thank Million Teachers Chevrolet for Hendrick Motorsports. Also joining him up at the front right now is our race runner-up, our Coors Light pole sitter. That was Kevin Harvick. He drove the number 4 Jimmy John's Chevrolet for Stewart Haas Racing. Let's hear first from Kasey. Kasey, third-place finish. You ran up front most of the evening, had led some laps. Just talk about the race, how you thought the race went for you, and how things unfolded there towards the latter stages.
Yeah, it went really good for us. We had a fast Farmers Insurance Chevy throughout the race. Worked our way up. Some of the pit strategy and things just sequence more than anything. We got to the front at time, there for a little bit, led some laps. Felt really good at that point in time, and then we got a little tighter later and didn't free up or tighten up enough there at the end when we put 4 tires back on. We just tried to run rights for too long, but it was still a really solid run. Nice to run up front and and be able to race hard the whole night. So it was good for us.
And Kevin, certainly this was one that you led a lot of laps and certainly had a very fast race car. Just talk about how things unfolded for the 4 car and your outlook on how things went from your vantage point.
Well, the car was really fast. We just had to overcome a lot tonight. Getting caught on pit road both times under green flag pit stops, and then there at the end, we ran out of gas coming to pit road there, and I was looking at the fuel pressure gauge instead of the tack, and lost a bunch of time down pit road and off of pit road, and wound up getting stuck behind the 24. And car was really tight, and then I found the groove that worked for me way up the racetrack, and I caught him, and then I slipped and lost everything I'd gained, and then gained it all back, and just ran out of laps at the end.
We'll take a few questions for Kasey or Kevin. If you have one, raise your hand back in the back, and then we'll go to Mike Massaro. We'll start with David and then go to Mike.
David Carvel, NASCAR.com. For both you guys, so much of this race seemed to be dictated by pit sequence. Did you know going in, okay, it's going to be tough to pass, so this is going to be how we're going to have to work our way through, or did it kind of just unfold that way?
Yeah, I felt like it was going to be tough to pass at times tonight. If you were, it was tough to pass a fast car, but if if your car was perfect, you could kind of pass, later on in a run or right there at the start of a run. So it was tough, and then you have to pit at certain times, and you don't know when someone's going to spin. So that was more than anything, it was just people spinning that I think got the sequence off that I remember. So you don't know when that's going to happen, and it happened a couple times tonight.
I think after the last race we saw here, it was exactly probably not to the extent that everybody expected, but I think that everybody kind of knew it was going to be hard to pass.
We'll go to Mike Massaro and then to Randy.
Questions for Kevin. As you probably noticed, Danica had one of her best, if not her best, career finish tonight. A lot has been made of a conversation you and her had this week. Can you shed any light on that conversation and what you might have told her and how you might have helped her this week?
We talk a lot, and I think for her, it's just the confidence in knowing exactly what the car is going to do, and obviously she's run well all weekend, qualified well, raced well all night, and it's just there's a lot of hurdles to overcome, for her to make up that experience. I feel like we can help her speed that process up by just telling her some of the things that she should expect and do. And as she went through the weekend, she kept her track position on the restarts. That's probably the biggest thing. But I guess the one thing I did tell her was just to quit thinking about it and smash the gas. Sometimes your car's never going to be perfect, and you just have to take what it'll give you. And expect that every time you pit, it's going to be better, and if it's not, you adjust and move on.
Go to Randy, and then we'll go up here to the front row.
Yeah, Randy Kovitz, Kansas City Star. For each of you, where were you when the lights went out, and just what kind of effect did that have on the race or the driving?
I think I was on the front stretch or something because the lights were good, and the next time we came through, it was dark on the back, and once it went green from that point, I didn't even remember it. They were off. The rest of the time, it's way darker back there, but you can still see just fine, and you just kind of forget about it.
I think we've probably both raced at a lot darker racetracks, but I don't know where I was. No, if it was dangerous, they wouldn't have let us go.
Go up here to the front row, and we'll go back to back. Go ahead, sir.
Sean Roney for Dos Mundos newspaper for each of you. With the weather delay, was there much concern at all that you'd be able to get this in tonight? Were you worried about having to come back here and run tomorrow?
I don't even know if there needed to be a weather delay. I mean, once we left pit road, it was raining as hard as it had rained the entire time. And then we went right to green pretty quick. So I think we probably could have started right on time, maybe had a caution for 5 laps, but I don't think it would have been much more than that.
Yeah, it's just you can't control that kind of stuff, so you just sit in your car and sweat and wait for them to tell you to go.
Go in the back. Go ahead, David.
Kevin, is it as simple as if you don't run out of gas, you win the race?
I can't say that. I mean, even though it was out of gas with these EFI units, it still runs, and I should have been paying attention to my pit road speed lights and should have got off the pit road better. I think to win the race, I just needed to execute on pit road better the last time down.
And then how do you come out of this knowing you had a car that was dominant in spots, but then like everybody else, you got back in traffic and other things happened? So how do you feel about this night overall?
I think we had a good night. I mean, you can't win them all. For me, I made a mistake at the end and felt like that's probably what cost us the chance to stay in front of the 24. But 24 was good all night, and 48 was good when he was out front, and we got in the back of the pack and couldn't go anywhere. So it came down to track position, and those guys executed a little bit better than I did.
Any other questions?
What's that? When we ran out of gas coming to pit road, I was looking at the fuel pressure gauge instead of the tach, so I wound up just going too slow.
All right, we got a question up in the press box. Go ahead.
Lee Spencer, Motorsport.com for Kasey. It's been a rough start to the season for you guys, and of course, I don't know if you know, but there's been a lot of talk on talk radio.
You're going to have to speak up, or we're going to have to get that mic turned up because we can't hardly hear you. Could you repeat that question, please?
Sorry, can you hear me now? It's really
a little bit
loud
better.
in here.
Speak up. Go ahead.
Just wanted to ask Kasey whether or not what this run meant to the team since they got off to such a slow start this season.
Yeah, well, our biggest deal was we've just been slow this season. Really haven't been inconsistent or anything like that. We've just been slow each week. So we tested here. We had that Goodyear tire test, and I felt like from that point on, we've actually had really fast cars. Richmond, we were good. We had some things go on late in the race on pit road that we ended up 14th, but we had a top 6 or 7 car, I felt like, that entire race. Ran well at Talladega and then came here and ran up front. We were good in practice. So, I think the Goodyear test here, for whatever reason, we were able to try some things and just look at stuff a little differently than what we had been. And it helped the 5 team, my guys, myself and Kenny and Chris, our communication together. It's helped us a lot since then. So, I feel like that's been the key, and ever since we tested here, we've ran much better and been a lot more competitive.
Thanks. Kevin, question goes to you. You mentioned running out of gas there at the end of the race in the pits. Was that the moment when it was over? Did you still have a chance to catch the 24 thereafter, or did you realize when you came out of there it was done?
That was my mistake, coming down pit road too slow. So, I'd caught the 24 and then made another mistake, getting up out of the groove and lost everything that I gained. So I made too many mistakes at the end to get by.
Did you think you had a chance in the last lap to get him?
It wasn't out of the question because I knew that when we got to traffic that his car was not very good. So, I just needed to time it right, and I just had too much ground to make up at that time.
Thanks.